What is up, guys? Welcome to Truth and Transparency Wednesday night. Good to be seen. Good to see your guys' names in chat again. Welcome to the Transparency. I'm going to let those notifications click in. Well, that's happening if you have not thumbs up or thumbs down the video so far. I mean, because it's just, been going for an hour. Make yourself known. Again, a lot of people are looking forward to tomorrow's hearing. Brian Kohberger will be announcing if he is pleading guilty or not. So we'll hear about that. Again, hold everybody in chat. Welcome. Let's see. Let me do something really quick. Again, all that I ask is that you be kind in chat. It is free to become a subscriber. And I went ahead and slowed it down. Just, yes. Okay. This is the second part of the PCA. I talked about it briefly this morning. And Bella's going to join. She's going to be doing some of the stuff that pertains to visuals. So again, welcome. What's up, Boston? Good to see you here. All right, first of all, guys, the cell phone towers. These are actually really important because of the language in the PCA. So the first thing I want to tell everybody is that everything that they are pulling as far as tracking the cell phone, when you look at the language, so let's get to that point. On page 13, on November 13th, at approximately 2:42 a.m., the 8458 phone was utilizing cellular resources that provided coverage to 1630 Northeast Valley Road. What you're looking at right now, this is the, hold on one second, that's the Moscow one. I want to put up the other one for you. This out. Oopsies. We're going to be adding some of these foam boards that I could always keep them, because the whiteboard, once I want to use it the next day, then I lose. So these are going to be really important for Brian's case. And it's all, it's the cell towers. What they're going to try to look at is where his phone pings at certain times, not just the night of the murder, but in general and on different days. So this is a plotting map, by the way. The cell phone towers will be added on. And then I'm trying to figure out all the radius of, the different locations as far as when they want to say, because one of these towers is where Brian's house is, or the apartment. What tower is it using? Has there ever been a time that the tower was that of a different tower that's been, Pullman? Same thing with, obviously, when you're in Moscow. So you have actually 4 towers in Washington, and you have the 3 towers in Moscow. So that'll be added. Bella, let's join to the stream here. Hi. What's good in the hood?
You can't hear me because it's muted. So I was just telling chat that I hear you in my ear. I see you on screen, and then I see you in real life, and it's all delayed.
AT&T, yeah, it is delayed. AT&T is actually the best coverage in Pullman, and it's that's actually his coverage too. So, you said you have that the Google Earth. That is, it's
Yeah,
totally,
look, it's down
it's
there.
totally a echo. It's not gonna work.
I should go upstairs.
I have to mute you. So, well, you're muted on your end, but you could if you like. Can I hear you personally? Yeah, sure, I can hear you. You're in the same room as me. That was funny there. That was funny. No, no, I can't hear you at all. In my ear, no. Okay, so utilizing one of the cell towers. We went over it a little bit earlier today. The hang up is going to be at the 240 when 244 happens, because at 242 they're saying that his phone is sending signals wherever he's in a radius that's normally where he is at when he is at his house. Then at 244 he is seen on a camera that is from where his apartment is to where that camera is, that we believe is where the camera is because of the location. It is 5 to 6 minutes from his house. So how do you get from your house to a point that takes you 5 minutes? How do you do that in 2 minutes? So I think that's going to be interesting. Yes, so approximately at 2:42 a.m., his phone is utilizing the tower that his phone is always utilizing when he's at his home. Again, this is what your PCA is saying. But then at approximately 2:47 a.m., his phone is no longer being used. It can't be pinging anywhere, but he is seen, this white Elantra is seen at 2:44 on a camera that is 5 to 6 minutes away from his house, but he was at his house at 2:42, okay? This is what they're saying. So can that be correct? Absolutely. But then you get to the big question mark, which is that 2:53 camera on the white Elantra. If he is proceeding en route, so here, go ahead and share your screen.
I'm sharing it. You just have to share it.
Oh, there you go. Sorry about that. So I'm going to go like this. All right. So go ahead and show his apartment, the overview of his apartment.
Okay, so
All right. So there's, you could see the septo. So here you go. Here you go. Here's his apartment. And then at approximately, they say, well, there's one camera. There's one camera that catches this white Elantra that is suspect vehicle 1. And that's going to be, if you're following along with your, people have printed this off. So if you're following along in your PCA packet, I'll start calling it that. It is on page 7, I believe, right? On page 7, you're going to see there that investigators were given access to video footage. And then it says a review of that video indicated that at approximately 2:44 a.m., a white sedan, which was consistent with the description of the white Elantra known as suspect vehicle 1, was observed on WSU surveillance cameras traveling north on South Nevada Street at Northeast Stadium Way. So go ahead and travel us there.
and this is my favorite point of time. It's the 2:44 time. I think they're gonna have a difficult time with this.
Okay. So right here then, what they say, this is the hang up that I'm telling everybody, this is the problem that I foresee that does not make sense. Because at 2:44, you got your purple dot. Then at 2:53, you have your red dot. You see that's a 0.1 traveling, right? Just from there to there. That takes
3 minutes walking,
3 minutes walking. It should take less than a minute driving.
less than a minute.
But Brian Kohberger, aka the White Elantra, takes 9 minutes to drive. How is that possible? Now, let's say that he was to, and then the language that they use in it. Not only should the language read a little bit differently, traveling north on Southeast Nevada Street at Northeast Stadium Way at approximately 2:53 a.m., a white sedan, which is consistent with the description of the White Elantra known as Suspect Vehicle 1, was observed traveling southeast on Nevada Street in Pullman, Washington, towards State Route 270. State Route 270 connects Pullman, Washington. Now, if you actually listen to the language there, so this is obviously before he gets onto 270, and where 270, like Main Street, becomes 270. People can say, you guys take a look. We're talking right, the purple dot, okay, to the red. If you actually look on a map, okay, this is not where fast foods are. This is in between. This is part when you are driving into the university on one, like if you've ever been to this campus. I've never been to the campus, but if you actually, this portion from here to here, all right, take a look at that. Again, welcome, welcome, welcome.
So you can walk that in 3 minutes. The purple, if you guys are just getting here, the purple dot, the purple check to the red. 3-minute walk, less than a minute.
Again, I'm not telling you. I'm literally explaining it to you. Not this is not like this is. I mean, if you want to interpret it a totally different way, go right ahead. But what I'm breaking down for you is if this isn't going to be in like the courtroom, okay, this is what they're saying happened. So, and why I believe that this is important is because you have this white Elantra that you believe is a suspect vehicle, okay? And it's literally right next to another known stop that is 0.1 miles from your previous point that you're talking about. And even if it is, let's say, in a radius of like, look at this area right here. It is impossible to get from any of these points right here in 9 minutes once you get to that purple dot from where he's traveling. Okay. And that's 5 minutes away from his house. So the distance then, even after this point, from 253, if you drive then, go to the next point.
Well, the next point isn't, it's their house. It's the King Road house.
Yeah, I just go ahead. From 253 to go to 1122 King, the amount of time that should take you, it's going to get you there before 3:29 a.m. There's time missing in that as well. So he's just, driving around. Well, then we have the infamous that no one wants to talk about anymore, the Linda. Remember where the White Elantra was seen on Linda?
In the beginning.
Between the two pings, there's no restaurants or anything like that. It's literally a strip. I could pull it up. Of you're driving into and on like one of the outports of campus to come into campus. There's no, between those 2 points, No fast food. Now, I think that's going to be just very, very interesting. And the reason is because of the language. A review of that video, that is a, meaning one, indicated that at approximately 2:44, a white sedan. Then that same video was observed on WSU. Now they try to say surveillance cameras, as now they go plural. So it's that video, to then they say plural with the word cameras, which is very, very interesting. Because how many videos do you think capture at that point at 2:44 if it is traveling, if it is moving, okay? Because if it is in fact moving the direction that they say it's moving, then how does this next point, which is literally 0.1 miles, happen at 2:53? I think there's going to just be some issues with that. Now, could he have pulled off and gone on these side roads and just pulled his car off to the side? Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, my question for as far as time goes with the last page, it's just easy to go. Page 13. Is it 13? 17, 18. I think it's 13, actually. Page 13. On his second trip back in the morning, page 14, I apologize. Look at that. Oh my gosh, Maple Beeve's in chat. No way, Maple Beeve. The last paragraph there, it says, further review indicating that the 8458 phone utilized cellular resources on November 13th, 2022 that are consistent with the 8458 phone leaving the area of the Kohberger residence at approximately 9 a.m. and traveling to Moscow, Idaho. Specifically, the 8458 phone utilized cellular resources that would provide coverage to the King Road residence between 9:12 a.m. and 9:21 a.m. How did Brian Kohberger make it from his home at 9 a.m. to the King Road residence? And it's going to say, well, it's not at the King Road, it's the provided coverage. Okay. And let me show you what that means now, once again. These are your 3 cell towers in Moscow, okay? One of those of which is the primary tower for that residence, 1122. Then there's going to be a radius, okay? And that means that he was within that radius by 9:12. Still, if you go to the, night before, Brian Kohberger, if he was in fact to leave his house, because the most important thing that I noticed in this PCA is that not on any one of these cameras, the surveillance cameras, do they ever identify this vehicle by a plate number. By a plate number. There is no mention of any plate number. So that means this white Elantra that they're saying is suspect vehicle 1, there is no plate number identifying it on any of these cameras at any point in time. Otherwise, it would be mentioned. It would say vehicle plate number, blah, blah, blah. Why wouldn't you identify that? That means that on one single camera can you find that plate, meaning Brian Kohberger's plate, even if it was just his back plate, right? And that's really big. Also, the amount of time it takes to do things and the unaccounted for time. So again, Brian could have been on the cusp of, I guess, the radius of where his apartment is, and then the cusp of where the radius of their house is. Okay. But but that is going to be very, very without the identifying marker of a vehicle. That's going to be very interesting how that's all going to pan out. Going back to the language in the PCA. So those are the two most important things that I wanted to point out. I should say there's three things. But that would be the time gaps. There's a lot of missing time. The biggest is 9 minutes to travel 0.1 miles. Okay. And that you're using the same, I believe, camera based on the language. The directions between the 244 and the 253 just doesn't make sense. The amount of time that it takes the following morning is totally not it's saying that he not only then was in the Moscow area until 9:30, 9:21, but then back where he needed to be, he did all of that in a loop of 32 minutes. Okay. Well, I'm going to tell you that it takes longer to make that loop and not even get out of your car to go to that house. Okay, guys, to go to that house and back to his apartment takes longer than 32 minutes. Okay. Again, if you look at that page 14, it's saying they want to do historical and take this data approximately 9 a.m. traveling, and you're getting back to the Kohberger residence and arriving to that area, which is the tower that he uses, at 9:32. So 9 o'clock, 9:32. That means you're leaving and you're coming back to that area. That trip to accomplish takes more than 32 minutes, and that's not even getting out of a vehicle. So anybody that is, he went back there for this, that, or the other, well, in this probable cause, there's no pings that are saying his Wi-Fi connected to the house. That's not in here. Now, does that mean that it didn't happen? No. The other thing is, where is there any mention of them attempting to interview Mr. Kohberger at any point? It's not in there. So let's back up to Dylan and opening up the door. I want to read something. Okay. Dylan stated, this is on page 4. Dylan stated that she opened up her door for she originally said that she went to bed in her bedroom on the southeast side of the second floor. Dylan stated that she was awoken at approximately 4 a.m. She opened up her door because she heard something under the effect of, there's someone here. Okay. She then said she looked out of her bedroom, but didn't see anything. When she heard the comment about someone being in the house, she said she opened her door a second time. that indicates the door was closed if you have to open it, right? Now, everybody has seen the inside of the home. Bedroom 3 is the most accessible. Okay. Not only is bedroom 3 the most accessible in that house if you're coming from it's like because it's like kind of centrally located in the house. But if Brian, or let's just say the suspect, is leaving and they're leaving from Xana's room, when you open up your door to hear something, think about that. Who's ever opened up their door and not stepped out of it? If you're going to open up your door to like hear something, you just put your ear, like twist your ear to the side and just open up your door and just like, or do you actually like step out of your door? It's like if you're going to like open up your door, I mean, so again, she opened up her door a second time. Again, when she thought that she heard crying coming from Xana's room. DM then said that she heard a male voice saying something to the effect of, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." So again, when you opened up the door for the second time and you heard that, so did she hear that before she opened the door or after she opened the door? Again, she opened the door a second time when she heard what she thought was crying. So that means that she would have heard the crying when the door was closed. So if you heard the crying through the door being closed, and then it clearly like you heard it, so you wanted to open up your door. But who's ever on the opposite end of that and not saying anything? Like, for example, if I hear my son doing something and I'm like, "Hey, what are you doing down there?" Like, "Hey, what's going on?" Even if I can't see him, okay, and I'm coming out of my loft or something, I say, "Hey, what are you doing down there?" Because he's making a bunch of noise or something, or like it sounded weird, or he's something. Reason being is for the next couple paragraphs here. Which is if I heard a male voice saying something to the effect of, "It's okay, I'm going to help you," pretty much Ethan lives there, pretty much, right? You know his voice. So to hear a voice saying in the way that it's worded to say, "It's okay, I'm going to help you," and to say that's heard a male voice saying that, doesn't say heard Ethan say it, okay? Heard a male voice saying it. I think that I would know what like somebody's voice like sounds like that I'm basically living with because he was there all the time. So I think that that's very interesting. The wording. At approximately 4:17 a.m., a security camera located at 1112 King Road residence immediately to the northwest of 1122 King Road picked up distorted audio of what sounded like voices or a whimper, followed by a loud thud. A dog can also be heard barking numerous times starting at 4:17 a.m. And everybody wants to think the way that that is written, I'm telling you, there could be a dog right there outside. One of the neighbors does not mean that it's Murphy. The security camera is less than 50 feet from the west wall of Xana's room. DM stated she opened her door for the third time after she heard the crying and saw a figure clad in black clothing and a mask that covered the person's mouth and nose walking towards her. Okay. Walking towards her. and this goes to what I was saying in the beginning of when you open your door, the way that her bedroom is situated, you take one step out of that room and you are literally, because it's a very, very small area, but right there you have to make a decision. You can either go up the stairs to the third floor, or you can go straight directly across to the kitchen, which is right the way to go to the slider. Or when you make that first step out, if you look to the right, there's your living room, which then takes you, like that's where the person, if they were walking towards you. But if you're in your room, the way that that bedroom is situated, if you just open up your door and you're just standing right there when you open it, you would have had to take a step out of the room in order for somebody to walk towards you unless they were coming from the kitchen. Does that make sense? The only way that somebody could walk towards you, again, I do apologize. My throat is so hoarse and raspy, so I apologize. Again, the TikTok video that they had out there, then you can see some of the 3D stuff that's been done. But in order for the way this bedroom is situated, okay, is in order for someone to walk towards you, okay, you have to be out of that room at some capacity, okay? And when you open a door, you're doing it for a purpose, right? What are you gonna do if you just gonna open a door and just stand there? The reason being is this, because everybody wants to be talking about right now. Well, do you think that he saw her and vice versa? Okay, and she gave Elise enough of a description to talk about how tall, like, okay, his length, his build, okay. So again, going back over here, DM described the figure as 5'10" or taller, male, not very muscular, but athletically built with bushy eyebrows. You're not seeing that from a peak, okay? You're not seeing that from, that's a pretty decent description versus like, again, the whole words as how somebody is walking towards you. You cannot be in that bedroom. The only way that that's possible is if somebody is coming from the kitchen to then walk towards that room. That's the only way that's possible because of the situation of that room. Pulling up one thing here. Just 1 second. I'm just pulling something up for you guys. Okay. All right, this is going to be the final recap of it all together now. Okay, this is a final recap of this PCA all together now. Again, these are just points for you to think about based on the language in the PCA. And then after this, I will be discussing the Brian Kohberger sealed Superior Court of Washington and the sealing of his search of his apartment. Let me also share this one too. All right. Ready. Ready for what I'm doing now. I just want to put that up there for now. Okay. Number 1, there's going to be 17 points. 17 points. And the last point is the DoorDash. So, this PCA is very choppy. Okay. We're going to go with the words of group thinking is a good way to describe this PCA. There was multiple people that were involved in this probable cause. Again, number 2, again, the wounds, if you go through this, they're all described differently. Again, this doesn't mean anything shady, but it's definitely interesting. For example, Xana's wounds are described as caused by an edged weapon. He doesn't say stab wounds or slash throat or anything specific. Ethan's wounds, he didn't see. Again, he can only report what he sees or what he is told. Ethan's are described as quote unquote later determined as caused by sharp force trauma. Again, not clear stab wounds. Also, he clearly did not have his eyes on them. So either Ethan was on his stomach and that the wounds were then opposite and vice versa. With Maddie and Kaylee, he flat out says, quote unquote, obvious stab wounds. Done, period. Could this mean possible different weapons? I think the defense is going to use that. But interesting, nonetheless, that it would be all the wounds are described differently. Number 3 out of the 17. The DNA on the sheath is going to be, obviously, that's the big matching point to Kohberger for a lot of people. But I think everybody's been saying we think that he's worn gloves. But what needs to be said is that the biggest point about it is what they have actually on the sheath is quote unquote unidentified male DNA, not DNA that popped up as being Brian Kohberger's from the jump. Please remember that this DNA could be blood, sweat, even saliva. But again, it is still technically unidentified male DNA. Number 4. Usually in a PCA, you don't put things in it that are irrelevant. And the whole paragraph about the dog, about Murphy, it doesn't have a thing to do with evidence to support arresting Kohberger. So why would you even put that in there? Again, that is not typical for a PCA. Not saying that it's shady or anything like that. It just doesn't have anything to do with anything. Or does it? Number 5. When identifying Xana, He says, quote unquote, I later learned through her ID and other personal effects that it was Xana. But remember, Officer Payne, he was one of the 3 officers who responded to one of those noise complaints. And I believe it was when Xana was opened up that door, came out. Maybe he just didn't recognize her. So also remember, he says Ethan was, quote unquote, later identified as. But with Kaylee and Maddie, they were just Gonsalves and Mogan right from the jump. No mention of how they were identified. Did he just know them by sight? Did he just not add that part? Did he not write all of this himself? Again, could be nothing, could be something. Just language. Again, the language, if you look at the top of the page on page 3, again, those of you guys that are following along, Payne says, based on numerous interviews conducted by MPD officers, ISP detectives, and FBI agents, as well as my review of evidence, I have learned the following. Based on numerous interviews, a review of evidence I have learned, this leaves it open to be able to say things without specifically citing the source because it has been covered legally by the umbrella of quote unquote numerous interviews and quote unquote review of evidence. That is not the best language. And a lot of judges, you guys, that's not going to fly. Again, this is one of the worst crimes I've ever talked about. But I'm a firm believer that when you do things, you want to be consistent in how you do something, and just interesting that would be umbrellaed like that. So let's think about it. This is going to be number 8. The police department kept it so secretive of where Xana and Ethan were, to the point that they were acting like there was this big gap that nobody knew where they were. Okay. But if it was just as simple as Bethany being there and seeing them until 1:45, why not just say that? Again, that whole part of it makes absolutely no sense. The cops could have just completely made a non-issue of it. Again, maybe they were just trying to keep Bethany's name out of it for a reason. Not sure. Because they actually told us and said that Bethany was out in other areas of the community that night. And that was actually said about Dylan. Well, that's not going to be true if Bethany is the person that has them pegged for the 9 to 1:45. Again, very interesting. Number 9 on the top list here is the first mention of the DoorDash. I'm telling you the language of the Xana received a DoorDash. And I'm going to hang off on number 9 till the end because that's just the way I want to do this. But the language in received, and we're going to talk about that. Number 10 is the language with the Dylan with the originally went to sleep in her bedroom. Could it be possibly because she, ends up somehow sleeping somewhere else? But when the cops saying the surviving roommates were both sleeping downstairs, I think to myself, why say that? What's going on with that? Could it just be that you misunderstood that? I mean, normally that's, but went out of the way to say that they're, not perpetrators, but also not witnesses. And then we see this PCA. There's also a possibility, guys, though, that there are multiple statements, because if somebody was scared of something, so they didn't say something and then had to give another statement. But what really sticks out to me is that he has to make a special notation to talk about and say that her bedroom was on the third floor, or on the second floor, rather, because of it being out there that they were sleeping downstairs on the first floor. So he has to be putting that in parentheses. Again, breaking down the DoorDash there and Dylan's thought processes. If her time is accurate with the whole 4 o'clock, which I believe that the time actually could have spanned longer, but it's going to be very interesting why they're sticking with this 4. Because originally they were talking about 3 to 4. And hearing that the someone is here, that is very well possible that could be the DoorDash, right? I think what people need to look out for is, with everything to do with Dylan, what the defense could do with that and use to their advantage. Again, I mentioned it earlier. Why would you open your door just because you heard someone say someone is here? Were you the person that was waiting for somebody? Why would that cause, Dylan to get up and actually look out of her door? Did the person who said it, did they sound alarmed? Were they scared when they said it? Were they surprised? Again, this is all about the language. She said she looked out her door and didn't see anything. What was she looking to see? And why? Again, it seems like it's pretty harmless, okay? And but if you're really thinking, it is, late, if someone's making noise, normally you're like yelling up to somebody like, "Hey, can you keep it down?" Or like, or you text somebody and say, "What's going on out there? What's up?" Again, she opens her door again because she thinks she hears crying. That must have been loud. Again, we're talking about that because it was through the door. But if you think that you hear crying, and when you opened it that second time, did you actually not hear the crying? But then she hears like "I'm going to help you," but it's from a male's voice. And if it was from Ethan's, I think that you would say it's Ethan's voice. I heard Ethan's voice. It says, I heard a male voice. Again, I don't believe for a minute that if Ethan, I agree here, like anybody out there that's saying this, if I'm hearing a voice, I would be like, no, it was Ethan. But when you're using and you say a male voice, it's totally different language, and you would know what Ethan's voice sounded like. So if you heard a male that wasn't Ethan's voice, again, this is just going back to the whole fact of like if Ethan was there as much as we all think, which is like he was basically like living there. So then when you just think about that, would that have been Brian's voice? And if so, anyways. Now this is the part of the PCA it's interesting. Is what happened next? Like, what does she do? It kind of just, the PCA cuts into the security camera stuff. It just right here, just if you go and you actually look at the order of it, Dylan picks back up with, she opens her door for a third time. And after she's, hearing the crying, Again, all the door opening and closings, and you never like left your room. I just don't understand any one of those points that you wouldn't go and see what's going on, that you would not step outside of that room. Again, just taking everything at face value, those instances on their own and not even knowing what's going on. But when you take those instances and you really, really think about that, not knowing the outcome, okay, aren't, is it scary what you heard versus just texting your roommate and saying something to them? Again, maybe that did happen and they're just left it out, okay? Again, why peek out of your door and then close it without going to see who said it and why? Then you think you hear crying and you hear someone say, "It's okay, I'll help you." You have just heard, your roommate crying from the other side of the house and the door was closed. But then some unfamiliar voice saying that they're going to help, you don't go see, or what, you don't call or text. When you actually put everything together, and if it was that big of a deal that I got you out of your bed 3 different times, you open the door to close the door. Again, you have to just remove everything from the outcome and look at it as like the actions that are happening, not knowing what's going on. That's what you need to think about with that. And I know how I am. I will, text, or text the people upstairs and say, "Hey, is Xana crying? Is everything okay? Is Ethan still here? Did they get into a fight? Like, what's going on? Do you guys hear that?" Because that's what girls like to do. Girls will be like, you don't want to, "Hey, I don't want to make her feel, I don't, should I ask them and see if, hey, is everything okay? Like, do you guys hear that?" So you guys, because I'm going to get to a point with this whole reason why I'm bringing this up right now and why I think is really, really important. Again, you don't call or text the roommates, or maybe you do, but just it's not in the PCA. "Hey, I think something is wrong with Xana. Does anyone know if Ethan is still here? Did he leave?" Something like, what's going on? Enough that it got you out of your bed 3 times. She closes the door. Again, when you open up that door a 3rd time after hearing that it is crying, and then this is where you see somebody walking towards, you. Again, I think that puts her outside of her bedroom because of the walking towards, and then they're walking towards the slider. And did this information that would have been given to the police really soon in the investigation, is this why they believed it was a targeted attack? Because Dylan wasn't harmed. Okay. Again, this is language Payne says. DM did not state she recognized the male. This is not the same thing as saying, in quotes, DM stated she did not recognize the male. Again, it's passive. Did you directly ask her, Officer Payne, if she recognized him? If so, I'd expect the statement to be, she stated she did not recognize him. Again, odd language. Again, the whole time frame right now, if you're going to just go with that 404, but meanwhile, that car, that Elantra, is there by 329. I think that they needed to extend of what could have possibly happened due to the no more outgoing anything with Kaylee or Maddie's phone. That the upstairs roommates could have been possibly killed between the 329 and 402 time frame within if Brian was the person that had anything to do with the DoorDash, he would be the one on the opposite end to see all of that, when it would be dropped off, things like that. Give that notification that I don't want you knocking on the door. I don't want you ringing the doorbell. Okay. And that would be a way to separate Ethan and Xana if somebody had to go downstairs to get the DoorDash. Okay. Again, that the whole timeline, especially with the cameras with Washington, everything like that, that 9-minute total, very, very Now the shoe print. This is number 12. The shoe print. Again, complete lack of detail in this PCA with that shoe print. What size was it? What size shoe does Kohberger wear? It just, there's nothing, there's no substance to that. Again, I said it before, I'll say it again with the path of travel. When you're saying, quote unquote, the path of travel, there is no confirmed path of travel. Coming towards someone isn't a path of travel unless Dylan was the state where she was. Okay. Could he be coming from down the steps? Sure. Coming towards me, that's towards me. I'm at the bottom of the steps and he's at the top of the steps. But his path of travel, what he's alluding to, is because of the language of him walking out towards the backslider. But we don't know where he's coming from. So again, totally just not a fan of that. Again, path of travel doesn't confirm anything. In order for him to get to or from Xana's room, or to or from the sliding door, he had to go in front of Dylan's room. So why did he pass up that bedroom? Was nobody in there? Number 14 is all of the Elantra footage. Okay. It being labeled as suspect vehicle 1. Why would something being labeled suspect vehicle 1? Why wouldn't it just be labeled as suspect vehicle? Period. Suspect vehicle 1. Usually that means there's going to be a suspect vehicle 2. Again, language. All the Elantra footage seems to me that it's like more of like we have an idea. Okay. If the Elantra had a license plate to it, don't you think that they would say that? They would, right? You wouldn't be calling it suspect vehicle 1 if at any point in time that Elantra was seen with its at any point in time, whether it's the front of the plate, whether it's the back of the plate. You're saying it all the different camera angles, we couldn't get a plate on this car. There's no plate. That's not good. It's not good. I just have to throw this out here for funny reasons. You guys, all the times that Brian Kohberger was pulled over, like, is he a shitty driver? I'm talking about before he was pulled over on, in Indiana. I'm talking about, what made him get pulled over on, August 21st night? Because there was nothing he got really cited for. He got, oh, here's a seatbelt ticket? Come on. Like, that's just like, what? And then the October 14th, like, the guy probably wasn't pulled over and, like you said, he had no background, no record, no nothing. Gets to Washington and can't drive for shit. I'm just kidding.
That's true. The auto says the white snow in impairs his ability to try.
Number 17. You guys, they keep saying, his DNA was identified in the house. It's not, unidentified male DNA was tested against Michael Kohberger's DNA. And it was determined that there is a 99.999998% chance that Michael Kohberger is the biological father of the unidentified DNA individual. Which lab did this testing? What is the record of the accuracy for the lab? What are its procedures? It isn't as solid as saying Brian's DNA was identified. Maybe it is now. Hopefully it is now, but I'm hoping it is. And no, I'm not trying to defend Brian in any way, shape, or form. I'm trying to defend the process of making sure that whoever is responsible, all parties responsible for what happened on November 13th, that they are never to see the light of day again. Again, the cops may have a shit ton more, but breaking down the language, boom, 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 and then throwing in the, okay, well, let's talk about a couple different things. And that means to me that car was never identified, that on any of these cameras, it could never pick up a plate. Now, I'm going to look at chat. What do you guys think out of everything? So do I think that they have the right guy? I do. Do I think that there's way more going on? I do. But how did they get to Brian Kohberger? I said it earlier this morning. In case you missed it, I'll say it one more time. If you have an eyewitness, which this PCA is telling me that there was an eyewitness, enough to give that type of a description, enough to lead Payne to say that when he saw Brian Kohberger's identification card, he said, oh, this matches the description. 6 feet, 185, bushy, eyebrows. What are the odds that male, Mr. Payne, looks at Brian Kohberger's photo and thinks that he has bushy eyebrows? Okay. Your perception and my perception of bushy eyebrows are going to be completely different.
It's subjective.
It's yeah. So this is what you normally do. Is you would take the photo of Brian Kohberger's license and you'd make a 6-pack, okay? 3 photos on top, 3 photos on the bottom. And then you would, and they're going to be other driver's license. These aren't mug shots. Use a driver's license photo. And you would present them and you would ask and you would say, have you ever seen any of these people? Have you ever seen any of these people around? And you're going to do that with multiple, people, or you should, right? But for them to get to Brian Kohberger's name by November 29th, okay, from November 13th to November 29th, guys, think about it. It isn't going to be, in my humble opinion, because of 2 people at WSU that happen to come across the same thing on the same night within 20 minutes apart from each other. It's not going to happen. I don't buy that. But what I do buy is that 100% could have happened, but you would have also been doing that with all these other Elantras. All these other, you guys remember all the tips that were called in? What did they do with all these tips? Because guess what? They didn't put it out to the public until December 7th, which means they already had Brian Kohberger, right? And the White Elantra. They already had their guy on November 11th. or I'm sorry, on November 29th. So why tell the public, hey guys, we need you to go find us this white Elantra, right? We need people to look at their surveillance cameras. We're looking for this white Elantra. And the reason is it wasn't that they were looking for an unknown white Elantra. Okay. They were looking, Brian Kohberger had a white Elantra and they had a picture of an image, okay, and breaking stuff down. And what they were trying to find is as many people to go and check their, what I believe would be like their cameras and go in and search like, and watch your camera from a certain time point and to see. But why are you asking for the public's help on, you already have it? And then why would you flood your tip line for people turning in all these other Elantras? And then if you, maybe it was, hey, we want all the web sleuths to leave us alone and you guys can go, look for this, for the license plate, right? For the license plate. We need the license plate, right? That's in my opinion, plan stops. Where was that other one at? That was a good one when someone just put it up because that's your thinking. For the license plate. Perfect. But guys, then you have to think about this though. Okay. So they know they're looking for a white Elantra by 11:25. They put it out, hey, to the other law enforcement people. We're looking for a white Elantra. So it was going out to like the different law enforcement, Washington. And then on 11:29 is when it's, found. The one that they wanted, like, Brian's. And then this is the miracle question here is, why wouldn't you just pick up the phone and call him or anybody for that reason? Because I'm going to play a little clip. And because Fry says they followed up with all these leads. What? Like, come on now. But why not call up Brian Kohberger here and say, hey, Officer so-and-so calling because trying to get some information from you. We're calling everybody in the area that has a white Elantra, blah, blah, blah. Your name and all your information's in our database because of your permit. Okay. So why never call and see just what he would say? Like, isn't that normally what you would do? You would call somebody up and you'd be calling around. I mean, everybody that has these white Elantras, right? And I'm even talking about before 12/7 that you put it out there. I'm talking about like, did you start watching him on 11/29? So were you just watching anybody and everybody that had a white Elantra? And the answer to all of us, guys, is no. Okay. They had a name. They had him. They needed to get him. Okay. Somebody coughed up a name. That's what happened. Okay. That's how you get to Brian Kohberger. All right. And then they were building a case. All right. Because something was at that scene. And it wasn't just that, because think about it, guys. If the cover of the knife is upstairs, right? That means Brian Kohberger has a knife in his hand. You're telling me that when Dylan gave the description of this man, you knew that he had bushy eyebrows, but you didn't say that he had a knife in his hand? Like, you didn't see the knife? Because the knife wasn't in a protector. I mean, what, you know,
Devil's advocate,
where, yeah, what do you, I mean, you're just, I mean, how are you,
you're holding it down.
you're holding it down? Okay.
Next to you.
And then, is there anywhere in this PCA, does it talk about the lights? Were the lights on? Were the lights off? Was there a hall light on? Where are the lights?
Were the lights in Dylan's room on? Were they off?
It's not so much what's ever in something, guys, when something's written, it's what's not in here. What do you think should be in here? Why didn't they ever attempt to talk to him? Or is it under the umbrella which Payne wrote, where this group thinking, based on numerous interviews conducted by MPD officers, ISP detectives, and FBI agents, as well as my review of evidence, I have learned the following. That umbrellaed it. And then it gets to this part, which is findings of fact. Here, I'll pull it up for you guys. Oh, I think all we're gonna know tomorrow is he's pleading not guilty, and whatever, motions the either side will put in. But it's, I mean, as far as knowing more, I just think it's gonna be the hearing for him to place his pleading in. Let's go ahead. I'm gonna pull this up. Let's do this. Filed December 30th. Okay, so let's also talk about dates, okay? All about the dates. Now, also, guys, remember, if that knife was in no way, shape, or form covered, except in blood, when he would have gotten to the launch, remember, it's just like we're talking about, okay, do you believe that this is a disorganized killer or an organized killer or both?
How could you be both?
I'm going to tell you how you can be both. Because this seems pretty organized, one would think, right? Very planned out, methodical. But then you get to this PCA and you hear about all this little stuff and you're like, wait, what? Wait, what? Like, why would Brian leave his house and leave his phone on for 5 minutes? Do you think that that's organized? No.
Well, I don't think it's organized where it got turned off. I think it could be.
You would never leave your house with your phone to begin with. Period. End of story. I mean, why are you leaving your home with that doesn't make any sense. So this it's like I look at this and I think parts of it are organized and parts of it are disorganized, So here goes number 1, or impact on effective law enforcement and public safety. Well, this matter is in the investigative stage, and while criminal charges have been brought, those charges are not yet publicly known. What do you think about that wording there? Again, the date is December 30th, 2022, filed.
Filed the same day he was picked up. Doesn't it say written the 29th?
Let me think about that. Let's take a look. Let's see. Next. Hold on. I want to share something. Oh, there it is. There you go. Did the survivors go to hospital? I would imagine after such trauma, they would have seek medical attention. Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that the officers would be, calling for that to happen anyways, regardless if they wanted to go or not. But yeah, I would definitely think that happened. Law enforcement watched him wash up the car. You guys, you're one of your biggest strengths if you can do it, and someone thinks that they're going to talk to you, if you think they're going to say yes to talking to you, would be to attempt to get some information out of him that could be used against him. Okay. How early on in this investigation were they like, we're dealing with, something that would be considered serial killer-ish or beginning of serial killer-ish, or this is an isolated target attack according to them, right? Well, how are they so quick to say that? And I believe that there's a reason for that. Anyway, and I think that it has a lot to do with this being sealed. Again, this matter is in the investigative stage, and while criminal charges have been brought, those charges are not yet publicly known. Premature public disclosure of the details of this law enforcement investigation will create a serious and imminent threat to effective law enforcement and could result in the premature end of this investigation, which could create a threat to public safety.
What in the world have you ever seen?
Okay, this language is very languagey.
Is there what?
Languagey.
Languagey?
I thought you'd get a kick out of that. Let me zoom in here.
It is.
There we go. So premature public disclosure of the details of this law enforcement investigation will create a serious and imminent threat to effective law enforcement, and could result in the premature end of this investigation. What would ever shut down an investigation?
Exactly.
What would ever shut down?
What do you think?
What would ever shut down an investigation? I mean, woo!
I am.
Woo! Someone says terrorist. Someone says corruption. Boom. This is conspiracy type language. You guys do know that, right? Like, wait till I continue on. But now let's think about what Brian Kohberger was doing. He was trying to get people to what? Ex-cons to like write him stuff, right? About how it was ex-cons, and there was people that never got caught doing stuff, right? And, what did he do with this stuff? So also, do you think that Brian Kohberger knew that once they talked about the white Elantra, that they were looking for a white Elantra? Do you think it went through his head like, okay, fuck? I mean, what do you think? So everything that he would have at his apartment, he just didn't think like, maybe I should go, I don't know, rent a storage unit and put like stuff in a storage unit, or they're already following me, so I kind of can't do that. I mean, just what would you have in this apartment? What would shut down an investigation if you believe law enforcement planted evidence, i.e., I want to see that video you were talking about, but no matter what, always love your theory because 9, 10 have the same one. His computer would shut down. Maybe he was part of another investigation, not about him. Think about it. Let's go back to the language, guys. Again, moving on to number 2, the personal. Let me just scroll down so you guys are with me here. Bringing you with me. Okay, there we go. This thing's touchy today. Personal privacy, number 2. The personal privacy interests of the witnesses, victims, and victim families named in the application filed in this cause also support sealing the documents filed in this matter.
My favorite word.
Documents. Again, the personal privacy interests of the witnesses, victims, and victim families named. Number 3, for these reasons, the information contained in the application and the nature of this investigation must be kept secret. Secret for a limited period of time. It is estimated the investigation will likely be concluded within 2 months from this date. Where did they get that number 2 months from? Think about that too. So, an order sealing the file for that period of time is appropriate and necessary. The prosecuting attorney may seek an order unsealing the records if the Idaho investigation and or criminal case proceeds more quickly than currently anticipated.
Quicker than 2 months.
Well, that's the investigation. Like, wow. For the immediate future, no action short of tolling the sealing of the records in this file will protect the above interests. Based on the foregoing. Number 2, conclusions of law. Effective law enforcement and public safety. There exists a serious and imminent threat to efficient and effective law enforcement, to public safety, and to the public interest in law enforcement's ability to completely investigate criminal activity using all tools lawfully at their disposal to collect evidence of criminal activity, and no means less restrictive than sealing the list of documents herein will protect those interests.
Love it. Such a mystery, right? It's the best.
So, Brian would have had, if everybody believes that, this is him. He's sitting out there. He's gone over by that area 12 times. And you guys, I have to tell you this, going over, that just means he's in the radius of where their house, whatever tower their house is paying off of, which is there's only 3 in Moscow, that Brian Kohberger, his phone, is there 4 in Moscow and 3 in, no, it's 3 in Moscow, 4 in Pullman.
Right, you're right.
Yeah, don't try to mess with me and my numbers. Don't try to mess with me and my numbers. That just means that radius, okay? Unless you are talking about an actual GPS, like, or if you were to link to like obviously someone's Wi-Fi, that's going to link you actually to their damn house. But that radius of the tower, that when that cell is in progress, that's what it usually hits off of. Okay. So what type of intel was Brian doing? Now, have you guys ever seen I think Netflix did. It was a Netflix original or one of the first ones that they did. The Missing, is that what it was? Where the girl was in the trunk of the car and her aunt ended up like getting in the car at the end of because it was like flashbacks and stuff like that. It was like a series. And she was sleeping with this dude, whatever. And she was like, fine, fuck it. I'll get rid of this damn car. Gets in this car, drives it into like the water. Okay. Well, anyways, moral of the story is because it was going flash black, she had no idea that her niece was actually in the trunk of this car. And she drove it into the water to get rid of the car for evidence, not to do anything because she didn't know that. Okay. Well, here, as you know, if you haven't seen it, go see it. It's really good. Anyways, the point though is that as she starts finding out certain things to do with this case in that show, she starts realizing some stuff. And anyways, moral of the story is that it makes it seem like there is this, whatever is in this house could potentially cause people, if the public would be at risk, okay, it's because I believe whatever would be in here and got out, it could maybe cause a person to go harm another person type of thing. No? Right? Also, you're talking about law enforcement being in imminent danger. I mean, well, that's just kind of crazy when you think about how long you had to leave, like Brian Kohberger just roaming when you knew about him. I don't know. He had a blacklist. Interesting.
It's not that law enforcement would be in imminent danger. It's that there's a serious and imminent threat to be efficient and effective.
Yeah, but it's both ways.
But there's imminent danger to the public.
Exactly. 100. There's going to be it's.
And
I think when you put everything, I just want to put that up there.
Read 3 because that's crazy too. The personal privacy.
Oh my gosh, someone just made me laugh.
Was it All Sane?
No, All Sane usually does though. Candace O made me laugh. This PC and Delphi both read like someone off the streets wrote them. That made me laugh. Thank you for that. I needed that. It's been a long couple days. Need some sleep over here. I get slap happy. So think about this. If you're living in that apartment complex, are you like, I am out, mofos. Like, I went out of my lease right now. Brian Kohberger probably like Jimmy rigged this whole place. He's probably wired with like explosives to take it all down. You know what I'm saying? I'd be like, I'm out and I want my deposit. So continuing on. Personal privacy. There exists a serious and imminent threat to the privacy of the witnesses, victims, and victim families named in the affidavit. and no means less restrictive than sealing the listed documents will protect that interest for the time being.
Boom.
I just think that Brian Kohberger did a complete like wall of he knows everything about the victims, their families, their uncles or aunts.
I think it's more than that.
But it's more than that. I thought it since day one with this case, not only because of the leaking. I thought that how are some of these leaks getting out? But law enforcement, why was there 42 to how many FBI agents right away? 42 FBI agents. You guys remember that first presser, right? When Scott Green was there to talk to. But we have 42 FBI agents, and I'm like, what the 42 FBI agents?
You mean Coomer Scott?
Yeah, Coomer Scott Green. You guys, 42 FBI agents. What was at that scene? What was at that scene? What was left there? Was there a letter left there that was pre-written? What was at that scene? It wasn't just the bodies. I think something could have been left there.
Who was at that scene?
Who was at that scene? Who? What happened there? Who was at that scene?
Missing from that scene that they. Like, this is really.
That was funny too. Jennings said, "You are not getting a deposit back here in Washington. They want you to pay for carpets even if you have only been there a month." That made me laugh. Thank you. Again, guys, from the top here with a couple of these things. Why did Dylan freeze up? Was the person in a law enforcement gear or something? Like, I'm just like, what's going on here? She never talks about the what dressed in all black, right? Clad black. Yeah, but no mention of a knife, and
no mention of his hair.
And then everything that they're trying to tell us throughout like with the pressers. Go back to that right here again. Findings of fact. Yes,
she did, Mandy Jo. She said
clap.
I just have to for Mandy Jo because she's a lovely person.
I've frozen in my house when I just thought I heard someone. Yep. Again, guys, I gave a nice like 17 these bullet points when you really like want to start talking about stuff. Now, think about this. If you did not watch the earlier preview, I talked about the DoorDash. Okay, the door dashing. Who is the person for you to say that everybody was in their rooms by 4 a.m.? Whether they were asleep or not, everybody was in their rooms by 4 a.m. Who is giving that statement? Is it Dylan or is it Bethany or is it somebody else? Because the last person to be in their room is the only person that could say that. And obviously none of the people that, are the victims can say that. So where are they, the 4 a.m. thing? Are you sure? Maybe they said at first, yeah, no, everyone was in their rooms at like, well, what time? What time do you think? I don't know, like 3. I mean, think about asking somebody when you go out with your friends and you get like nice and ripped. Dude, I don't remember. Oh my God. Like, okay, let me look at my phone. Okay, I did this at this time. Okay, well, I posted at 3:33 in the morning, so I was in my room when I was doing that. Um, it's, so on and so forth. But the DoorDash, what are the odds that a DoorDash guy would be there dropping off food at 4 or maybe like 3:58 or, but that would mean that somebody had to order it. So I'm more interested in when was the DoorDash ordered? I don't want to know about when it got there. I want to know what time it was ordered. That's more important to me. And then did it actually come from one of their phones versus coming from somebody else? Because you can send DoorDash. I could DoorDash one of you guys right now. Okay.
Don't threaten me with a good time.
Because guess what DoorDash does though? I then can track when that person, I can then watch this tracker and then I know when you're going to get there. I can also put on the DoorDash to say, do not ring the doorbell, leave the food by the slider or leave the food by the, front door. Everyone's sleeping, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Take a picture when you arrive. Things like that. Like you could tell them their special instructions. But the thing that's interesting, which you kind of can't do, is whatever phone it comes from, like whatever account it comes from, that's who they think it's for. So like if I order you DoorDash and I send it to you, it's going to say my name. Okay, it's going to say my name. It's going to say, because you could order a door. It's like the DoorDash app just thinks that you're there, that's where you're at. So like on the bag, it would say, my name and that order, by the way, just so you know.
What if somebody, this suspect, set up a fake account in Xana's name?
Yeah, you could set up, you have to use, DoorDash goes with a card. I have not walked the steps to try. I mean, I have a DoorDash account, but I've never tried to take a gift card right now or a prepaid card. And I mean, set that all up. But also, if Xana and Ethan got home at 1:45, 2 o'clock, why are you waiting so long to order the food? You stay up for almost like, it's interesting. So Lana, you don't hear a lot about Bethany at all. I'm having Chick-fil-A via DoorDash right now. Feel free to DoorDash me, guys. I'm the next thing, are they even doing that? Can you even order like alcohol through DoorDash? Is that even like a thing? Is that illegal? I can't see what advantage in Brian doing the DoorDash. Well, because somebody would have to go open the door. Okay, so check this out. I was getting out of the shower the other day and literally screamed because what I did, like I went to open the door and I wasn't expecting something, you know what I mean? So what do? You go, oh my God, what the fuck? So that was my reaction. Okay. My reaction was like legit, like I was not expecting anybody to be there. So when I opened up this door out of my bathroom to like them take a step out, it was like and I like screamed. Okay. So I had that experience and I was like, oh my God, I was like, if you hear something like that, like, it's not like You know how you go, and then you say, "Oh my God, you scared the fuck out." You know, you tell it to somebody like, "Oh my God, you just scared the shit out of me. What the hell's wrong with you?" Like, you know that? So, and I was just thinking about that experience and then thinking about this case. And I'm like, you know, getting frozen, I totally see that can happen. But I'm more interested in like the Xana and Ethan in the same room and somebody just thinking that they're just going to walk in and then there's two people and one of them is awake because of this time frame that they're talking about and like the whole 412 with the tick-tocking. Um and but then if the DoorDash just came at 4, somebody had to walk down the stairs and get it. You know, did Bethany hear any of that to just walk down to the DoorDash? Did the DoorDash come to the side door? Um, but then where are you gonna eat the food then? And then what's on the order? Was the order for 1 person? Was the order for 2 people? You know, like, did you order, like somebody would say, okay, if you ordered, like, let's just say from McDonald's, was there 2 number 7s? Was there 1 number 7? Was there, you know, 2 Cokes versus 1 Coke or but because there's no talk about, like, what time was Ethan awake? You know, did the DoorDash totally mess with Brian, you know? Um, I mean, and then who circles a house or, you know, is going around that area like 3 different times? Also, how many lights do you think were on in that house? Right now, I look at my house right now, I'm like, "Why are all these fucking lights on?" Like, do all these lights need to be on? Um, in college, you just leave your lights you're just, you know, it's whatever, right? So and then why are we so sure that there could not have been any murders that took place between 3:29 and 4:02? I just think that that's complete craziness to me. Kaylee and Maddie's phones stop no one's doing anything after 2:52. So, why couldn't, somebody pop through the on the balcony, come right up through there and, um, and go through there? No one's in the sliding door, which again, maybe if that was your target and they're not in their room, then you proceed to the next room. Um, and then when that happened, if the people upstairs were the first people, why not just go back out the slider, you know, to leave? You know, or did you? And then what? I mean, there's nothing to say that what then you're gonna go back to the house to what kill other people. Um, well, I think anybody that kills one person that way is you know, did he have a completely was it 2 people? I'm gonna do the top people on the top floor, and then you're gonna go into to the bottom floor because 'cause it'd be like 2 different people. Um, but at the at the end of the day, this whole circling and driving around 3 times, does that sound organized or disorganized?
What if there was 2 people and one was organized and one was disorganized?
I mean, you think about that 9-minute, 8-minute, like, missing of the car in the 0.1. I think that that's very interesting. I think that it also takes a lot shorter of a time to get there. Once you are at the 253 point to be driving then, you would have been in Moscow, like, right after, like, 3:15. Um, but you got this DoorDash, right? If you set up this DoorDash, if Brian wanted to set it up, think about this, though. You're also gonna place DNA at the house, somebody else's DNA, foreign DNA, But then you think somebody that just from DoorDash is gonna, that's pretty stupid too, right? But you have all these things going on that all these officers would have had to try to figure out. You got all the kids that party there. Then you got this DoorDash guy. But you're gonna tell me that this links to some guy that doesn't even know these people, and they're able to figure this out in 15 days, right? Without a name, somebody coughing up a name, but your only lead is a white Elantra. It could possibly be a white Elantra from this year to this year. And so you get those leads, but you don't get any from the outside world yet. You get it internally by 11/29. But then you're going to throw out that we're looking for a white Elantra on 12/7. Was that for actually Brian Kohberger? Was that to flush out with, like, if you look at this now document, like 42 FBI agents are on this, like day 2, day 3, day 2, something like that. 42. That's a lot of agents. 42 agents. What was something was at that scene that, I mean, I could see, okay, you want to call, and then we're not even talking about the Idaho State Police. You heard it that day when this guy was reading all that crap off. I'm like, why the hell are they telling us all of this? Well, when you go back and you actually look at it, it's very important. You know?
Always go back to the beginning of investigation.
Yeah.
They reveal so much.
Who called in all, I get like, hey, we need help. We need 40, we need damn 90 people over here.
We need your whole Utah staff.
But yet they're telling the world that, you guys, this is an isolated targeted attack. Everybody's fine, But now this. So again, look at that language. Let me take a look at your guys's, questions here or comments. Valentino says, I think there was a drug connection. I think they got more agents even, yeah.
I think it was more Adderall.
But the problem is, for me, is that on none of these cameras can they label that white Elantra. It's labeled as a 1 with the suspect vehicle 1. Is there a 2? Because normally you would just say suspect vehicle. Why would you say suspect vehicle 1? Come on, guys. There's a suspect vehicle 2. And I believe it's in that, the gap that I'm referring to with the 2 at 2 hours or 2:44 to 2:53.
To 2:53?
Mm-hmm. Suspect vehicle 1. I mean, normally it's just called suspect vehicle. I would like to know why it was sealed.
They're telling you right there.
We just, far more than Adderall, Dravatina tells you. No, I think she was just joking with you.
Adderall.
There's a big Adderall cover up going on. We're totally kidding. But yeah, no, all on these, but all these, all this language from the PCA, you got this PCA, and again, it's like I said, it's umbrella. It's like this umbrella, and it's no dates on stuff, like when you did anything. Okay, no dates on anything, and yeah, there was 2 people, 2 in the room. Yep. So let's look at this one more time, because I have a couple more things I want to say, but I didn't want to go too mind-blowing right now. Findings of fact. This matter is in the investigative stage. And while criminal charges have been brought, those charges are not yet publicly known. Publicly known. They knew that this had to be, it's like they knew way early on that they were dealing with a situation that involved something. This wasn't some, you know, college kid that was rolling on acid or something like that. Okay. Is that what you do on acid? I don't even know. Is that what you do on acid? See? Totally not a druggie. Ecstasy. That's it. Ecstasy. Damn it. Getting my drugs mixed up over here. But it goes further to say premature public disclosure of the details of this law enforcement investigation will create a serious and imminent threat to effective law enforcement and could result in the premature end of this investigation. How would an investigation end? Which could create a threat to public safety. We can't keep you safe if all of our cops are in cuffs. Like, I mean, think about. I mean, what do you mean by that? Come on now.
That's, in my opinion, but I didn't know you were going to say it.
That is definitely my favorite, Lana. Take her.
Talking to her?
Yeah, I love hot ham. You guys think about this. Think about this, oh, we just got this DNA off this button. What? What about blood? He didn't cut himself. Nobody cut themselves. Everything that we were told, though, in the beginning, I mean, literally everything about it. Nobody saw anything. They were sleeping on the bottom floor. Okay, wrong. No one's a witness. No one's a perpetrator. Well, one of those is wrong right now. Remember when they said that we don't know if the house was the target?
Yes.
We don't know if the house was the target.
Drove us crazy.
I mean, all these noise complaints, all these cops just pouring out the beer. The Trulies. They were just so mad over the Trulies. Come on, no. I mean, but you got to think about what Kohberger, what he tried to do. Remember, he tried to get his internship with the Pullman Police Department. Remember the Pullman Police Department? He tried to get that internship. Well, there's no talks about did he get it? Because how doesn't a guy like that get that job? Think about it. There's no talk about it. There's no talk to say, oh, and guess what? He didn't get it, or yes, he did get it. Now, when you want to talk about it can create, what would he have had access to while working at the Pullman Police Department? What would he have had access to?
What does he have access to being in the position he is at WSU?
Okay.
What do you think?
So let's go back to this when Payne says, okay. Additionally, the photograph of Kohberger shows that he has bushy eyebrows. Additionally. Okay. Kohberger's physical description is consistent with the description of the male DM saw. And what I said earlier was what guy would, your perception of, okay, does that person have bushy eyebrows? Did they have not, it's medium, or it's, that's just, I'd be showing, here you go. If you didn't have pencils as eyebrows, I'd be like, here you go, take a look at this person. But further investigation, again, no date on page 10, including a review. They reviewed his body cam from the pullover, all this stuff. Were you doing this with all these launchers that were coming into you? None of this would happen without a name. It's like, here's your murder, here's your murderer. Now I'm giving you the person. Now put it all together. It's like they were given a name and then they had to put it all together. So in where do they talk about right here? Based on information provided on the WSU website, Kohberger is currently a PhD student in criminology, right? Pursuant to records provided by a member of the interview panel for Pullman Police Department. The interview panel, this is the person that gave them this information. It's very specific language here. When why not just say the Pullman Police Department gave us this? We learned that Kohberger's past education included undergraduate degrees in psychology and cloud-based forensics. These records also showed Kohberger wrote an essay when he applied for an internship with the Pullman Police Department in the fall of 2022. Notice how it doesn't say that he get the internship? Was he working? Because when he gets pulled over, guys, guess what he says? He says he works at the university. Okay. So was he an intern or was he not? Did he not get the job? How does a guy like this not get the job? Kohberger wrote in his essay he had interest in assisting rule law enforcement agencies with how to better collect and analyze technological data in public safety operations. Well, let's say that you really are the killer and you're involved in the Pullman, Washington Police Department, and you see some kid coming in there like, yeah, this is what I want to do. And you have all these cravings to be a killer. Oh, this is a great patsy for me. Here we go. I'm only saying, why would the wording of this, that you got this information from some person on some panel, members of the interview panel for Pullman Police Department. Pursuant to records provided by a member of the interview panel for Pullman Police Department. You guys, do you hear how descriptive that is versus this part? On page 3 or 4. What page is it? Page 3. Based on numerous interviews conducted by MPD officers, ISP detectives, and FBI agents, as well as my review of evidence, I have learned the following. There's your umbrella. That's just ridiculous, but there's your umbrella, okay? But when this Officer Payne writes this, which I think it was group thinking, but when you get to talk about the stuff about Washington and Brian Kohberger in terms of Pullman, Washington Police Department, Again, what needs to be in a probable cause affidavit? What needs to be in it? What you don't need like how I said earlier, the stuff about the dog. Why are you putting that in here? Why is this in here? Why would that anything to do with the dog be in here? Because it has nothing to do with Kohberger getting arrested. Okay. Again, page 11. Based on information provided at WSU website. So from the WSU website is where they got the information about Kohberger being the PhD student versus just talking to the campus. We'll just get that information off the website. Okay. pursuant to records provided by a member of the interview panel for Pullman Police Department, we learned that Kohberger's past education included undergraduate degrees in psychology and cloud-based forensics. These records also showed Kohberger wrote an essay when he applied for an internship with the Pullman Police Department in the fall of 2022. Kohberger wrote in his essay he had interest in assisting rural law enforcement agencies with how to better collect and analyze the tech data in public safety operations. That was needed. That was needed. Why would that be needed for this? They felt that it was needed and they put it in here. Okay. And then we get this document that we get to look at here. And now maybe we can start putting some things together with why that part would be in it. Check this out. So wouldn't it help us to know, or would it hurt the public to know, well, was he interning with the police? It doesn't say like he didn't get the job. It doesn't say like, well, he didn't get the job because, he was a freak. I mean, did he get the job? Does anybody know? Did he get the job? I think that the only reason you would ever write suspect vehicle 1 is if there's a suspect vehicle 2, especially how this was written. This was so like, like, why are you calling it suspect vehicle 1? Unless there is more numbers. Hey, I'm going to do an outline, but I only have one thing to say. Well, then why are you doing an outline? It's just a statement. It's like, what? When you're numbering something, it's usually that there's more things, Again, that's just my logic, but no, he did not get the job. Who said so? Did that come out? They might be covering up because why did Kaylee's dad get a PI, third party? So and then when you read this part right here, premature public disclosure of the details of this law enforcement investigation will create a serious and imminent threat to effective law enforcement. It could result in the premature end of this investigation. I'm still caught up on here on the premature end of something. When something would get out, then why would something be shut down? The personal privacy interests of the witnesses, victims, and victim families named in the application filed in this cause also supports sending the documents. I mean, what was in that apartment? For these reasons, the information contained in the application and the nature of this investigation must be kept secret for a limited period of time. Right here. Effective law enforcement and public safety. In order to have effective law enforcement, you must maintain order. You can't be effective unless you have order, power, you know what I mean? Respect. There exists a serious and imminent threat to efficient and effective law enforcement. This basically, when this is released, they needed more time. This was to buy time to public safety and to the public interest in law enforcement's ability to completely investigate criminal activity using all tools lawfully at their disposal to collect evidence of criminal activity, and no means less restrictive than sealing the list of documents herein will protect those interests. So this kind of reads that there's ongoing criminal activity. That's what it reads to me, that there's ongoing criminal activity. There exists a serious imminent threat to the privacy of the witnesses, to the privacy. Do you guys remember at the presser when somebody raised their hands and said, was there a hostage situation? Do you guys remember that question? You know, we laughed a couple different times. I'm like, what the hell are they asking? You know, remember that? I was like, what the hell's going on? What kind of questions are they asking? You know, 4 people, you know, knife killings, hostage situation. Usually you hear that with a gun, you know. Was there a hostage situation? And you know how all like the local people, and there's a lot of local people there, and got to ask the first questions and stuff like that. So I paid attention, like, okay, are these worldly people asking the questions? Are these local people? Hostage situation. OMG, you know what? Let me see that rewording. Let me see this wording. Hold on one second. Holy shit. Pull up the second.
One page.
Personal privacy. I gotta go do some research on kept secret. Holy shit. Okay, we're gonna wrap this up. We are gonna wrap this up. Love you guys to death, but somebody knows me well. Lana done found something. Gina B knows me well. Yep, we're gonna wrap this up. Love you all. Please go back and listen very, very carefully to the things I said about the timestamps, about that second trip in the morning that they're referring to. I think we need all to tread very, very lightly with, you know, everybody is innocent until proven guilty. And I'm going to start referring to everybody as suspects. Okay, you guys, take care. Oh, you guys are definitely going to hear my thoughts. But we'll be back. We'll be back. Totally somebody got dropped off. That's all it was, is a drop off. Love you guys. I want to say thank you to the members. Thank you to the moderators. Thank you to the subscribers. And do me a favor and go and click the thumbs up or thumbs down. Make yourself known. Also, I'll be officially repping Swagit. Join the Swagit team. So I'll be repping and doing some promotional stuff with them, and Truth and transparency. Impart sponsored swag it. So I'm gonna do a nice little twist on how I do stuff with that though. Again, take care, be kind, and we'll see you soon. Good night.